Sir Ernest Shackleton's recruitment advertisement read thusly: "Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return, doubtful." Welcome to This Creative Journey. I'm your host, Richard Sisk. In 1914, while Europe plunged into war, Ernest Shackelton and his crew of 27 men embarked on what would become one of history's greatest survival stories. Their ship, the Endurance, carried not just their ambitions to cross Antarctica, but also Frank Hurley, their official photographer, whose images would ultimately tell their story to the world. The Antarctic summer was unusually cold that year. Pack ice trapped their ship in the Weddell Sea, and for 10 devastating months they watched helplessly as massive ice floes slowly crushed their vessel. Through it all, Hurley documented their predicament, often risking his life to capture images in temperatures so cold that the glass plates would shatter in his camera. When the ship finally surrendered to the ice on October 27, 1915, Shackleton gave the order to abandon her, but not before Hurley dove into the slushy water of his darkroom to rescue his glass plate negatives. In a heartbreaking moment, Shackleton ordered him to keep only 120 of his 400 glass plates. The rest they had to leave behind. Hurley smashed the discarded plates on the ice rather than abandon them intact. An artist's ultimate sacrifice. For 5 brutal months, the crew camped on the drifting ice, their world a monotonous white desert where temperatures dropped to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The men huddled in tents, listening to the wind's perpetual howl and the deep booming of shifting ice. When the ice began to break up, they took to the lifeboats, battling through a sea of grinding ice floes until they reached Elephant Island, a desolate rock that hadn't seen human footprints in recorded history. With their supplies dwindling and several men on the edge of physical and mental collapse, Shackleton made his boldest decision. He would sail 800 miles across the Southern Ocean in the James Caird, a 22-foot lifeboat, taking with him Frank Worsley, their master navigator, Tom Crean, Timothy McCarthy, John Vincent, and Harry McNish. The journey pushed human endurance beyond its limits. For 15 days, they battled waves the size of buildings in perpetual darkness. Ice formed constantly on the boat, requiring chipping away to prevent capsizing. Their hands were flayed raw from constant exposure to salt water. Sleep was nearly impossible. The men had to take turns bailing as freezing water breached their tiny craft. Then came the wave. In Worsley's words, it appeared as a great black wall of water, crowned with white foam and filling the entire horizon. The massive freak wave lifted their tiny boat almost vertical. For a moment, time stopped. Then the wave passed under them, and somehow they survived. When they finally reached South Georgia Island, 800 miles later, they realized they had landed on the wrong side. Shackleton, knowing the men on Elephant Island were counting on him, made another incredible decision. With Worsley and Crean, he would traverse the island's uncharted interior, a feat no one had accomplished before. For 36 grueling hours, they crossed glaciers and mountain ridges with no climbing equipment at all. Just a length of rope and a carpenter's adze. Then they faced their most terrifying moment. At the top of a mountain slope, they realized they had no choice but to descend its steep, icy face. The slope disappeared into the darkness below, and they knew the glacier was riddled with deadly crevasses. In what Shackleton later called a moment of inspired desperation, they made an extraordinary decision. They would slide down, deliberately surrendering to the control of gravity, Sitting one behind the other, they linked arms and pushed off. The rope, coiled beneath them, served as their only sled. In complete darkness, they shot down the slope at tremendous speed, unable to see what lay ahead, knowing that any moment they might plunge into a bottomless crevasse. It was, as Shackleton wrote, a matter of seconds, but it seemed like ages. When they finally slid to a stop at the bottom, all three men were shaking, but alive. They had dropped 900 feet in less than 3 minutes. When they finally stumbled into Stromness whaling station, they were unrecognizable, their faces blackened with blubber smoke, clothes in tatters, eyes haunted by their journey. But Shackleton wasn't finished. It took 4 attempts, battling through pack ice, before he finally reached Elephant Island on August 30, 1916. As they approached, he counted the black dots on the shore until he confirmed the impossible. After nearly 2 years of hardship, all 22 men had survived. Today, Hurley's photographs, preserved against impossible odds, stand as testament to their extraordinary journey. His images of the Endurance, trapped and dying in the ice, have become iconic symbols of both disaster and triumph of the human spirit. Shackleton wrote in his diary about the crossing of South Georgia Island. "I know that during the long and racking march of 36 hours over the unnamed mountains, it seemed to me often that we were 4, not 3. Whether this fourth presence was divine intervention or simply the human spirit's unfathomable depths, it speaks to something profound about what humans can endure when pushed beyond their limits. In saving his entire crew against impossible odds, Sir Ernest Shackelton demonstrated that leadership, at its core, is about preserving our common humanity in the face of overwhelming adversity. Thank you for listening.